Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to trade the daily volume profiles and the regular trading hour session volume profiles. This is for anybody who's a little lost and doesn't really know how to use the volume profiles properly. Now, this is without all the bells and whistles that I use. I'm going to show you just a basic setup, and you can take it and apply it to your current strategy and make something out of it for yourself. Um, and you can use the regular SVP from TradingView. This is my custom indicator. If you don't have it, it's in the Discord, in the indicator section. Just look for the WAP link and you can get it. However, I am changing prices on it still. So, just wait for my announcement to officially say what the new prices are. It's going to be a little bit cheaper somewhat because you'll be able to just buy individual indicators instead of having to be forced to buy the entire indicator suite. Okay. Anyways, so this right here, what we have on our screen is a daily volume profile. And let's say, today is a new day. And let's say that day opens up and we have a new day. And let's say we open above value. And value is just this green shaded area. Outside of value is the gray shaded area. So let's say the market gaps up and opens up here, right? If we trade back into value and we spend around 10 to 15 minutes here, right? Some time here, I will look for a fade back to the value area low, which is just the edge of value down here, right? Or maybe I might trail it because what could also happen is if price spends time below, we can see a continuation off of that, down to the lows over here. Now, vice versa, if we open up below value down here, I'll be looking for a break in back to value, a retest of the value area low, some time spent down here, and then trying to get to the value area high up here. Okay, but what's more favorable, right? So this is where the logic and the thought reasoning comes in is volume profile is more like a way to build a narrative or a process to build a narrative, right? So let's say we do open up below value and I want to see a break-in retest. Typically, you're going to get a rotation depending on where the POC is, right? But we see that the POC is a bit below, or it's a lot below the value area high, right? So if you were to take a break-in trade, you might just get a consolidation here like this, right? Just back and forth between the value area low and the previous day's POC, just like that, right? And that's not fun to trade, right? It'd be better if this POC was directly in the middle of value, right? And we had some sort of more of a P-shaped profile where this was more so distributed evenly like this and tapered off at the end like that, right? Because this looks like a short covering rally here where we just had aggressive movement up, right? And then we built some value over here, right? And where did we build value? We built value right above the previous day's value area high, right? So we spent time up here, right? When it spends time up here, it means price is accepting up here. So you should be careful not to fade some sort of price movement like this, right? Where you see a thin profile at the bottom, you have a thin tail. You see a consolidation above it, meaning they're willing to negotiate and do business around this area, right? Or auction at this area. I shouldn't say negotiate, but auction at this area to eventually push prices higher, and what prices should you be targeting, right? So yesterday we had this area, this whole entire value area high that we should be targeting. And then we had this little piece of price action here, which is the value area high that was left untested, right? And this is why price went directly to that and filled in all that imbalance, right? And then you get that filled, and then you get a break back into value. Okay. So right now, what the market is showing me, right, as far as narrative, and this is on silver, is that we closed back inside value, right? So we didn't have really much acceptance up here, even though we spent some time up here, right? And then we broke back into value, right? And then we closed slightly above the POC, above this low volume node, right? This is a low volume node. where price doesn't like to be, and we closed right in that, right above that, sorry. So yeah, price can, it's most likely going to open up and possibly test this and then come up here like this. But for me personally, I would want to see some sort of retest lower, right? Because I want to get a discount on my trade. So if we open, let's say we open lower or we gap lower or something of that nature, or let's say we open up in value, I want to see a retest of at least the value area low and then look for a long up to the value area high. Something like that would be ideal for me personally, right? We also have a POC here. This one has already been tested, so it's not that important, but there is the previous day's POC um, that could be tested again. It's most likely not going to be the strongest level, right? Because we have a new POC here. So this POC in this value area from POC here to the value area low, something like that might be ideal, right? If you have other confluences stacked with it. But I want you to focus on these areas. So for example, this indicator, it marks out when the previous value area highs or lows have not been tested. Yesterday, I caught the low on this. Unfortunately, my dumbass trailed my TP and not my SL. So as I'm in the trade, I'm thinking I'm trailing my SL, but I'm trailing my TP, so it took me out of the trade and then it just shot up. Right. So that really sucked. It was actually a very painful trade, but I basically bottom ticked this because we had this untested value area low here. Right? So you just wait for it to tap into the value area low. You look for an entry confirmation, boom, or not a confirmation, but your entry signal, right? I don't like to say confirmation. Usually I will just jump into a trade once I see some sort of bullish movement and then have a very tight stop loss and then let that thing run, right? Okay, and you'll see this over and over again where the untested value area lows will get retested again into the next day, right? Like if we take a look at M and Q, for example. So you can see clearly, and this is also a weekly value area high over here. So you have, more than one confluence. You have this was untested from the previous day. On this day, it comes up, retests it, drops. On this day, you have this value area high, untested, price opens up, comes in, retests it, drops, right? Now this is left naked, right? There's nothing tested here yet. What happened on this day is we had a naked value area high, right? That wasn't tested yet until the next day. The next day comes in, taps right into it, and then drops. What happens on the day after that? We can see this value area high here, right? What happens? Price comes in, tests it, and then you have a nice drop here. Okay. And then, for example, when you have a value area low here, that never got tested. It just got like not tested, but it just got ripped through like quick with a imbalance where you have a thin profile right through it. Usually this will come back and be tested as a break and retest level like that. Okay. You can see the value area low here was tested on this day, right? This was left untested. So you see how on this day it skipped it, on this day it came back and tested it, and then it ran up. Okay. And you can just keep doing this over and over again, and you'll just start seeing that these value area highs and lows constantly get tested, right? So for example, here, what do we see is this value area high on the next day. It's retested, right? You basically top tick this, right? If you use a lower time frame. Okay, what do we see here? This value area high. When I'm talking about the gray shaded area and when I'm talking about tested, meaning after the profile closes. So after this profile closes and price comes back to it on the next profile, that's considered tested. Okay, so you can see here, we perfectly tested it right at the open. Actually, we opened inside the value area high. Uh, there we go. And then we have this one that was left untested, right? This one we have a poor high, right? There's no value area high here. So on the next profile, we get that distribution from here. Okay, and this happens over and over again, right? And you also have to use context, obviously. Like if you're looking at where the next profile opens in reference to the previous profile, it'll give you a better bias. If you're looking at the POC location, right, where the POC is located within that profile, that also gives you another bias. Um, so for example, here's that other example of when that profile was ripped through with an imbalance, right? So this profile right here, we just ripped through it with an imbalance, somewhat of an imbalance, not really an imbalance because I'd rather see a very thin profile here. So I wouldn't really use that as a specific level, to be honest. Okay. Um, let's keep testing, right? You can just keep doing this. So here we have an untested level, right? This one was never tested. It was just left. Okay, and we can see how that profile comes, tests that level, and then drops into what? This previous day's value area low level. Okay, and then this one gets tested by the next profile, right? And it's just the same order of things, right? Now, when you see them getting untested, that should be like when they're starting to stack, right? Like this, where you have untested, untested, and it untests again. Just know that once value switches, right? So where the POC right here, you have POC migration, migrating upwards. Once you start seeing the POC migrate lower, and then we start accepting below into the value area low, expect these levels to get retested in the future, right? For example, here, as we're in this downtrend, as we gap down, we have a value area high here that gets retested on the next day, right? Price comes in, tests it, dumps. Comes back, tests it again, dumps. Right? Now you're closing at the value area lows here, right? So it doesn't really make sense if you're closing at the value area lows, where you're really going to buy. Right? It doesn't make sense to buy from this value area low. Like I hope that makes sense. Like because you're closing down here, you're opening below, right? You're opening and you're dropping below the previous value. So why would this even be a zone? It wouldn't make sense for that to be a zone. Okay, now you can use like for example, from the first setup that I was telling you guys about, um, where like if, a fade back into value. So for example, if we opened up below value, we traded back into the value, then we're most likely going to rotate to the other side of value. You can use the same concept with the overnight profile. Okay, so you would use the 9:30 or the 6 p.m. to 9:29 a.m. overnight profile and just treat the regular trading hours as your new day, right? So you would look at where are we opening in reference to the overnight profile. The only difference with the day is that it can gap up, right? You can't really gap up unless you use just RTH where you have that overnight gap. Then you can consider that the gap, if you know what I mean. Like if you just change this to like this, then you get these uh you'll get price gaps inside the profile. I don't know, it's not showing on mine. Whatever. Probably because I'm on the 5 minute. Or I don't know. I don't even use that, so it doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is that the daily, you can get a gap above the previous day's high, right? So if this opens up here, which is way outside of the value area high, which is above the value area high, then you're just looking for longs and you're not trying to fade that. Okay. So I hope this video helps, and I'll see you guys later.